Robert Brill, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Dylan. Appreciate you having me.
When I was doing my research on you, I was trying to come up with a question that you haven't been asked before. And then I realized you've been in marketing and advertising for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
So there's probably not much I'm going to be able to ask that you haven't been already asked before.
You can ask me about the meaning of life. I don't have an answer for it.
So what is it that people should be asking, but they're not?
About marketing and advertising, about business growth.
Anything.
I think people need a navigation plan for how to grow a business. I'm going to talk about growing a business. It's something I'm passionate about. I'm lucky because I do the work that I love to do. And I think business owners need to figure out how to get predictable, repeatable, and scalable business growth. That's the golden path here. That's the North Star. And it's not an easy answer, but that should be in the back of your mind for everything you do. What can I do today that I can do 10 times more tomorrow and get about 10 times more results? That's everything. And that's what we've been striving for many years as well, when I figured out that that's the North Star.
How would you apply that to somebody who knows what they want, might not have all the tools to do that, and then everything's shiny to them?
Work backwards. What's your goal? You want a $10 million business? You want 1,000 clients? You want a certain amount of profitability? You want to have freedom of time, freedom of money? What's your goal? What's the thing that most interests you? Want to travel? You want to be a digital nomad? You want to be a family person? You don't want to have to commute? My first goal was I didn't want to have to commute. So I created a business where I didn't have to commute. Start with the outcome, the ideal scenario, and work backwards from there. That's the work. And then along the way, have enough resourcefulness or can-do spirit to be able to reverse engineer where you need to go. At that point, you will see opportunities open up in your life. And I'll give you an example of that. There's one point in my business, I was going to say I didn't have credibility. And what I meant by that is there's no logo I can point to say, look, I've been featured in this publication. Or how do people who don't know Robert Brill, how do people understand whether or not I'm a good person to work with? And one of the best ways to do that is with credibility, getting articles as featured in whatever publications. And so I was like, all right, I need that. And then Forbes reached out and said, hey, you can connect with us and now you can publish in Forbes. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. It's a paid program and it's a networking group. You get discounts on a bunch of different things. And you also get to answer roundup articles, roundup questions that are published in Forbes. And if you want, you can publish. And underneath where you publish, it says this is a fee-based program. But 2 months after I realized one of my next steps for the growth of my business is getting published in articles and getting those credibility logos stacked up, I got the answer. I got a solution there. So you have to know what you're looking for. And usually for most people, you'll find a way to achieve that. But if you don't know what you're looking for, the answer to your problem could be staring you in the face. You just don't know what you're trying to solve for. Therefore, the solution isn't clear because you don't know what you're trying to solve. So at every step of your entrepreneurial journey, figure out the next goals, but also keep in mind your long-term strategic goals.
I want to give you a scenario. I've got two avatars I want to talk about today. One is a small business owner who has ran ads before, but hasn't quite figured out their marketing or their message. And then the other is a solopreneur who has their message down, but hasn't ran paid ads. Let's talk about the first one, the small business owner who has ran ads, but hasn't got their messaging down. What's the first thing you would do?
That has run ads, but hasn't figured out their messaging. The first concept here is you really need to determine your highest value work. And that changes over time. A person who's gone to law school, this could be a lawyer, it could be a doctor, it could be a person selling a course. It could be anyone. But for each situation, I use the thing about the doctor because it's like easy for most people to understand. Your highest value work as a doctor is not to figure out Facebook. Similarly, lawyer. Similarly, a person who's an HVAC person or a plumbing person. Chances are like you can get paid hundreds of dollars an hour, but you can hire someone to figure out Facebook for hundreds of dollars in total per month or some small dollar amount relative to your value. So the first sort of dimension in that equation is what is your highest value work, and you should outsource everything else. So the answer is you shouldn't figure out Facebook ads or any advertising platform because it's not what you should be doing. Like focus on relationships. Is that what grows your business? So first determine whether or not you should even be spending time here. It might not be valuable for you. The second component is you may realize it's not your highest value work, but you don't have the money to actually pay someone else. So as a result, you've got to figure it out until you meet a certain goal. And that's when you draw a line in the sand and say, look, when I have X amount of revenue in my business, in other words, when I can afford it, I'm going to offload this to someone and do that as quickly as possible. If you've got to figure out advertising on Facebook right now, what should you do? The fundamental question is, what are you trying to, this is like, I'm probably going to end up giving you the same flavor of answer, but apply it to different scenarios. So the answer is figure out your business goals and reverse engineer back from that to where you are today. So most businesses cannot pay the bills with likes, comments, or shares or engagement. You got to pay the bills with money. So figure out what gets you money in the door. If you're too early in your marketing and you haven't been able to figure it out, there's a couple of reasons why your advertising isn't working in no particular order. You don't know how to make Facebook ads run. So you need to figure out a way to learn it. So get on YouTube and get on TikTok and learn how to run Facebook ads. Take a course, take the blueprint course on Facebook. That's really not the best way, but it's something. What I would point people to is the Performance 5. We can come back to Performance 5 and why that's particularly relevant. The second thing is you may not be in the right place. You maybe shouldn't actually advertise because not having good performance on Facebook or Google or wherever could be a symptom of you don't have product market fit. So you're giving people a message that they don't want. You're selling them a product or service that they don't want. Then the question is, why don't they want it? Do they not want it because the price is not right? It could be too expensive or too inexpensive. Do they not want it because you're not saying something that's interesting to them? That means it's a creative messaging thing. You're not using the right words and the right imagery to compel an action. It could be that it's simply an issue of, so now we're talking about product market fit, and the product market fit just isn't there. The solution for that is ask yourself, have you been in a position where have you sold stuff before? Like, in some capacity, are people buying from you? If the answer is no there, then you really have a product market fit and you need to go back to the old school way of meeting people in person and friends and family and talking to a bunch of people, which is exactly what I did. When I started my business, as an aside, I spent like 2 years trying to figure out what I say to compel people to put money in my hands. It took a while to figure that out. So you may need to regress all the way back from the beginning and say, I got whatever I thought I had, I don't have it. I need to figure it out. If you feel like you have product market fit and you're running ads and they're not working, okay, why are they not working? Number one, your ads are too complex. If they're too complex, so when I say complex ads or complex messages, it's really an issue of people have seconds, like 2 to 3 seconds to figure out if they're going to pay attention to you. So you have 2 to 3 seconds, maybe 1 second in some cases, to deliver a compelling message that catches their attention and invites them to stay longer. So that process of attention grabbing is 3 steps. So the attention grabbing process is the following. You're scrolling like on Facebook, let's say, you see an ad. First decision that a user makes, unconscious really, is, am I going to scroll or am I going to stop? Remember, they're seeing your message like in motion on the screen. Is there something on here that's compelling me to stop? So that's the first hurdle you got to overcome, get them to stop. Then the next hurdle, the phase 2 of that is, are you saying something to them that's actually interesting? Is the image interesting? Is the video interesting? Is the text interesting? Is the headline interesting? Something there's got to resonate with people. That's the second phase. The third phase is you're compelling a click. Okay, whatever has been said is interesting. So now I'm going to click to the landing page. You've got to think about what's the thing that's going to get them to stop, what's the thing that's going to compel them to click, and then you've got to think about what's on your landing page. So if you're running ads, the diagnosis is here, are people clicking? If they're not clicking, then it's an issue with your ad, your creative. And really, one of the most easiest thing to solve for is you're saying too much in the ad. Like, it's not a clear message. Like, the purpose of an ad is to get people to click. Like, that's it. So just do just enough that gets them to click. That's it. When you get them to click, the page that they click to, the landing page, needs to be equally as simple. On the landing page, what are you asking the person to do? For most B2B, it's generating a lead, sharing information. For most business to consumer, it's buying something. The mistakes at this point are going to be complex messaging. Like, you don't want to tell people 27 things about your business because confused mind doesn't buy. And you're not trying to educate them. You're trying to get them to spend money. So give them the most direct path to spend money. buy this product now. Here's the information about this product. Enough information to make it interesting, not enough that confuses them. Make it clear what you want them to do. There's a buy button. I want you to select the quantity. Make it very clear. Make everything above the fold. Above the fold means when you load the page, what shows up when you load the page? You don't have to scroll and you have all the information you need. With regards to B or any lead generation business, there's a form and you want people to see enough information so that they fill out the form and you now have the ability to contact them. So that entire process will happen. The scrolling stops. That takes a second. The consumption of the media takes another 1 to 3 seconds, possibly 10 to 15 if it's longer form. The click, then people are spending time on the landing page in matters of seconds. If they're interested, they're going to go around your website. If they're not interested, they're going to bounce. So you've got like a few seconds here to actually compel someone. And then if they buy stuff, they're staying on the site longer. So when you break down the activity that people are taking, think about those kind of 4 steps. Thumb stop, consume the content, click, landing page, and then a few steps in that landing page area. You've got to make content that's really easy for people to consume in a frenetic world where there's a lot of messaging, a lot of stimulation. So if you have product market fit and your ads aren't working, this is probably a big reason why. So what you're saying to them is not interesting or not compelling enough. Then you have issues of pricing. Maybe your price too high. One of our clients, they were putting prices in their ads. Like, you don't see your competitors putting prices in your ads for a $20 or $30 product. Like, why are you putting prices in there? It makes it feel cheap. Don't put your prices in there. Get people. I'm not in an aggregate sense, or this entire system is about getting you to buy something. But that's an example of putting too much information in the ad. Like, I don't want to put $24.99 in the ads. Just tell me you want the product. And then click and get more information. And I could talk about ways to overcome all these issues. You don't have to be a genius. You don't really even have to be good at it. You just got to have a stick-to-itiveness or a can-do. If you have product market fit and the stuff is not working, the ads are not working, those are like the reasons why. So how do you overcome this? There's a parallel with Google, which is inside Google briefly, some of the reasons why Google ads don't work. When we're talking about search specifically, Google is YouTube and it's banner ads, there's a bunch of different things. But let's talk about just search ads. The big reason why Google search ads don't work is because the phrase matching is wrong, meaning like you're targeting people. Broad matching gives you a lot of opportunity to serve ads, but it's usually your ads can appear in environments that are unrelated to your business or not closely enough related that makes a compelling case. So you want to really focus on exact match or phrase match. So these match types means like exact match is your ad will only show up when the exact phrase in that exact order shows up in the keyword phrase. But if 1 or 2 words in your keyword phrase are in the search terms, but like with a bunch of other words, your ads can show up. Shoes would be an example. You don't want your ad showing up for shoes. It's very generic. Like there's women's shoes, there's men's shoes, there's dress shoes, there's sneakers. Like you want your ad showing up for men's dress shoes near me, which is very different than shoes. Far fewer searches, but you don't need millions of people searching. You need like 100 buyers. So get very narrow in Google search. Just like looking broad at like the broad scope of what's happening here. What's happening is here, you don't know what to do and no one expects you to know what to do. Just like you wouldn't expect me to go to the doctor. You wouldn't come to me when your knee is hurt and you need knee surgery. What am I going to do? I don't know nothing about this. You go to an expert, you go to a doctor. You wouldn't come to me to fix your car, right? So you pay for experts to alleviate, to fast forward through thousands of hours of strife and struggle, probably tens of thousands of dollars of wasted money. So you can just get to the good part where you're actually doing your marketing well, or you know what to look for, to work with experts. But if you have to be doing it, the solution here is on Meta. It's a combination of things. The solution to do Meta correctly, this goes back to the Performance 5. What Meta wants, so if you Google Performance 5, it's this general sort of framework that Meta wants from its advertisers. There's 10 million small businesses on Meta, and most of them are small businesses. There's 10 million advertisers on Meta. The wrong way to run Meta advertising is to boost posts. Do not boost posts. Please just stop boosting posts. Boosting posts is simply a money grab for Meta that allows businesses to spend money to feel like they're in the game and have very low expectations of what they can get out of that. The right way to run Meta advertising is through Meta Business Manager or Business Suite, to run ads through an ad account. And really what you're doing, here's the framework for Meta. Number 1, you're creating your cycle. You need to create 5 ads for the same sort of product or service every month. That's number one. Number two, you're going to disassemble all of those elements. You're going to disassemble the image or video. You're going to disassemble the headline, and you're going to disassemble the primary text so that you have 5 headlines, 5 images or video, and 5 primary texts. Then you're going to run through a control and variable test. You're going to run ads such that you determine which one or two of the headlines works the best, which one or two of the images, which one or two of the primary text, and you get a combination of ads. So you have 125 different possible ad variations. Those 5 ads disassembled creates 125 different variations. Take those 125 different variations, do this control variable testing. In about 2 days, you're going to understand which are the top up to 20 variations. Sometimes it's 12, sometimes it's 18, sometimes it's whatever combination, but maximum you can have is variations that total up to 20. So you can have 2 headlines and 3 images, that's 6 variations, and then 2 primary text, that's 12 total variations. Next step, turn those on as dynamic creative ads. Dynamic creative ads inside Meta means you are optimizing to a lead or a sale. So separately, you're going to optimize to a lead or a sale. That's your objective, right? You need something that's going to generate money for you. And you are combining all of those elements such that Facebook or Meta will dynamically combine them in various different ways. Image 1, headline 2, image 1 and headline 3, whatever the case is. And over the course of a few weeks, you're going to identify which one of those 12 combinations is your absolute best. That's your all-star ad. You started with 5, you disassembled, and then you had 125 variations. So out of 125 variations, which one is your all-star out of that group? That's why you don't need to call your shot. You don't need to say, this is the message that consumers want. Just give them a bunch of messages and let Meta sort out for you which is the one that resonates with people. And this is over time how you figure out your pricing and your offers and your messaging. So what this does over time is, let's say you're trying to solve for the issue is you don't know which product to offer people, B2B or B2C, which service or products you're looking at. So over the course of 5 months, you do this creative testing framework with 5 different products or services. What happens is you're going to put your best foot forward, your all-star ad for each one of those products or services. And over time, you're going to see where you get the most leads from or the most sales from. And you'll get insight back from Meta that helps you understand, look, I'm getting most of my sales from like this one product. And the result of that is you get to understand over time where you should focus your energy. People don't want product A, B, and C, but what they actually want is D, because when I run my ads, most of my sales come from product D. You'll never get any of this insight by boosting posts. You have to do this with this creative testing framework. Let's say you're trying to solve for messaging. Right? I'm not a good copywriter, or I don't know how to create images, so the stuff I create isn't that great. I don't have the money to pay people, so I'm just going to throw a bunch of stuff at it. Okay, out of 125 different possible variations of your ad, which variation is your best? You get to understand the type of imagery and the type of language works for people. And then over time, over the course of a year, you have your all-star team, you start running ads that are performing, they're profitable, and then you can understand and scale up. That's an actual strategy for understanding, number 1, product market fit, and number 2, what exactly your people want from you. So the foundational framework is you have to be able to create every month, you have to be able to create 5 headlines, 5 images or videos, and 5 primary texts that are pretty darn different from each other. And you get to understand what the market wants from you.
That was a whole lesson in marketing ads. I was thinking of a question every single time, and then you'd go to the next step and you'd answer it by then. There's one thing I want to touch base on. The beginning portion, you mentioned you want to grab the attention by the ad first. You have just a few seconds to grab their attention. That is not as important than your messaging inside of your landing page. How unimportant is that initial grab from them scrolling? Does it matter if it even matches your brand? Does it matter what it even is?
I think brand is important. Brand is the reason why people will work with you or buy from you and not someone else. I encourage businesses to figure out their brand. So when I say figure out your brand, I mean have messaging that's sufficiently different to achieve your business goals, but has a common identity tied to it. It's hard to manufacture for small businesses. What we came across is we work with a design team, and we're going to put in our logo, we have the square format, actually both the long format and the square format of our logo. We have a frame over the B, and the frame is broken. So you have a frame, but in 2 parts, it's disconnected. and the disconnected part is a different color. On our main logo, I believe the frame is blue, and the little part that's disconnected that makes the fourth corner is orange. So a designer was just like, hey, here's some ads that we created. We didn't give them this direction. And one of the images that has become part of our identity now is that same type of frame in most of our ads. So if we're looking at a square, you're going to have a frame, and one part of it is going to be a different color, blue and orange, light blue and like white, I think. It varies. But the one through point in our visual identity is that frame. So that came through happenstance. Like I didn't tell someone to come up with a visual identity. I just had a good enough eye to recognize, hey, this is great. We're going to use this. At the very least, have your logo be in everything. Have your colors be consistent. And again, I'm looking at this from the perspective of, I'm also a startup. I've been in the business for 10 years, but we operate like a startup. We're nimble. We're testing new things. We're looking at new technologies. And you've got to figure out your colors. It can evolve over time, but figure out your colors. I'm not saying to study color theory or whatever. Get some basics. Go on YouTube for half an hour or 2 hours if you're really that interested, like that type of thing. Figure out your colors and stick to your colors. Like I know the hex code of our colors, of our 2 primary colors and then our secondary color, our 1 secondary color. Those are ways that brand can permeate everything you do. Because when you don't do that, you can be reaching people that would otherwise be paying attention to your business, but they don't know they're looking at your business in all those different touch points. That hurts you. It's a waste. So even if someone doesn't scroll, at least see your brand. So there's a sort of creative strategy that a lot of small businesses use, not weird, but imagery that is, there's a term for it, but like it's purposely weird and out of line with everything else you're seeing on the page so that it catches your attention. That's fine. You can test that, but make it part of your brand.
That almost feels scammy or sketchy sometimes to me, though. If I'm thinking of what you're thinking of.
There's an ad going around on X, on Twitter, with a guy holding his hand out is for a doctor, and there's goo, slime, something in his hand. Don't know what they're selling, but I like the ad. I like it because I hate it.
You like it because it grabbed your attention.
Yeah, I like it because it makes me feel like uncomfortable. So as an ad person, I like uncomfortable because yes, exactly to your point. It's attention catching.
So it's more important to grab your attention while keeping your color scheme and your brand in somebody's mind.
Over time, you're going to understand what your brand is. There is a big part of our business is trust. Like you have to trust us in order to work with us. And everything I say in our ads has to be a true account of how we see the world. We have some leeway in how we say it. We can say it in a funny way or an interesting way, but we can't say things that are not true. Other businesses that I know in this space say things that are untrue, not with the intention of deceiving people, but with the intention of being outrageous. They make claims that you can't quantify those claims. The best email newsletter you'll ever read on marketing. You can't quantify that. There's no real way to do that. It's obvious that it's not based on any measurement of quality. So we don't like to say things like that. We have to live in the realm of possibility because our clients require us to live in that realm of possibility so that when we give them reporting and numbers and conversion activity, that we all understand that it's within the realm of possibility. Like they know that we're not going to make the data, you know what I mean? Like everything we do has to be based on trust and a source of truth. I can't start out the relationship by saying something that's outrageous because to me, that taints every component of the relationship after. So I say that because you need to figure out what type of brand you are, what you sound like. If you were a person, what would the characteristics of that person be? Are they funny? Are they witty? Are they scandalous? And that's what brands end up doing. It's a way to anchor your brain around some set of characteristics for the business. So the brand is not just the colors and the logo. It's about the characteristics that are ascribed to your business that you want to be known for. And every message that you put into the marketplace really fit that brand into some capacity.
I'm sure you use a process for that because you just mentioned something that stood out to me. It's use the newsletter analogy of greatest newsletter in the world. There's nothing to go by on that. Your client could be expecting that. What's the other option?
You're saying the client could be expecting that big verbose language. That's fine. We can do that for them. So there's a couple of things. In that particular case, I don't think there's any legal risk there. But there's always a legal risk if you say something that is too outside the bounds of what is reasonable.
Yeah.
Number one, if we get any spidey senses tingle that you were going in the wrong direction, we're going to call it out in writing that we don't recommend this because this could open you up to legal ramifications. For example, hey, make an ad with this well-known song. Cool. Do you have the rights to use that song? No, we just see everyone use it. Okay, don't use it. We're not going to use it. We're not. You can do it. We're not going to do it. Those are obvious things. It gets less obvious. People use copyrighted memes all the time. There's a Spider-Man meme, 3 Spider-Mans looking at each other. You can't use that in a business to promote your business. You can't have Spider-Man promoting your business without working with the copyright holders, without Disney or whoever owns that version of Spider-Man. So when a brand expects something, so let me also be very clear, we're not a creative firm. We do media buying. So our domain of expertise is math, data, using algorithms to reach people. We have clients, our agency clients are usually the creative people who they don't get out of bed for anything under $35,000 a project, that type of thing, for their media buying partner. In cases regarding creative development, we do that for small businesses. And we're never going to come up with just do it. We're going to take whatever language you already have and imagery you already have and extend it into advertising. So we're never going to be the person, the company up to develop that sort of big brand overhaul. What businesses should be thinking about is, what do you feel comfortable saying? Right? Most businesses, most solopreneurs, most small businesses, it's an extension of the individual running the business. Who are you and what do you want the business to be about as it pertains to the business being an extension of you, right? There are people with big personalities, lots of charisma who want their businesses to be that way as well. Whatever it is, we need to develop a through line between your business and the messages you put out there such that people will recognize who you are in a variety of different touch points.
You've been featured 10 times across Inc. 5000 and Financial Times 500. I was going to ask what you contribute that growth to, but I think you've already answered that at the beginning. So I want to swap it around here and say, what can the small business owner learn from that?
The Inc. 5000 Financial Times 500 is just a measure of revenue. So the learning is get revenue. Easier said than done. I understand that. Partnerships, relationships, the big sort of well of growth comes from relationships for our business. It's people who I've done consulting work with, like side by side, not as clients, but just us together on projects. People who know me from 18 years ago, people who refer us. So that's a big part of it. It's relationships. It's former CEOs that I've worked for that come to us and run business with us. That's not relevant for all businesses, but sure is relevant in a service business. But the growth opportunity is leveraging all of your existing assets to grow. If you haven't been when I started my business, it was 2013. I'd been in advertising for 10 years. If you haven't done something for 10 years, chances are you don't have the relationship, set of relationships. So use the resources you have. AI is a big democratizer of assets and capabilities. Use AI. I'm using AI. I love using AI. Because I can bring to life things that I never would have been able to bring to life before. Because even though we have designers, it just takes too long and it's not worth the effort, or it's not worth the time, the money. So I can do things faster with chat GPTs like a chat agent. The success is about curiosity. It's about mindset. It's about having partners, both external partners and in my case, my wife gives me good advice. I realized recently that the reason I started this business, the short-term reason I started this business, which I knew back then, was I wanted to work in advertising. I didn't think I'd be able to craft a better job for me than this. And I wanted to get paid a certain amount so I can stay in the business. Over the course of a few years, I realized I don't want a job anymore because my job was Brill Media. My goal then shifted to creating a business that I could be the CEO of. And I realized over time what I wanted in aggregate was freedom. And it goes back to those initial thoughts of having a vision for what you want to accomplish, which will change over time, by the way, which is perfectly fine. Having a vision and reverse engineering from that goal in the future to what I have now and what are the steps I need to take to achieve that goal. And it's the ability to rely on myself. When I say rely on myself, deal with the downs, the problems, the difficulties. When I started my business, I knew how to do certain types of advertising, data, and automation. I didn't know how to sell. Certainly didn't know how to do with all the sort of large sums of money that get get thrown around in our business. If an advertiser spends $100,000, do I collect it up front? What if they don't want to pay me? What if they never pay me and I've spent that money on advertising? I don't have $100,000 to just blow off into thin air. So the mindset component is really important because it helps me understand that there's a solution for every problem. Just got to be open to finding those solutions. But it all comes down to revenue, make money.
You also got to have a pretty good product too to achieve that revenue growth, I feel like, as well.
I think it comes down to marketing.
Really?
Yeah, because everyone, their mother can start an ad agency. Computer, internet connection, and a Facebook account. You can run Facebook ads. What differentiates us is the words, the language we use to compel people to work with us, marketing. And going back to the conversation of product market fit, I spent years talking to people about what we do because I didn't realize I can't use the jargon that I use at my other agencies to sell a business owner on advertising. They don't care about programmatic advertising or real-time bidding or hyper-local data. What do they care about? Sales, foot traffic. So I have to stop talking to them about how smart I am in programmatic advertising. And I now have to talk to them about something that's on their level, where they're at. More people, butts in seats, spending money on food. So product is the same. Capabilities are the same. What's different about that is how I talk to people that gets them to trust me, to know me, to like me, to trust me, and to spend money with me. And over time, that shifts as well as we get new types of clients and we work with different types of clients. There's a way we talk to big enterprise clients, different way we talk to local businesses. So product and service is the same initially. It evolves over time. We have processes, we have standard operating procedures, we have the Brill way, which our chief operating officer can better talk about than I can. So it's evolved over time, and we do have a moat that protects us against competitors. But at the beginning, our competitive advantage was not the technology. It was how we talk to people and compel them to work with us.
You study a lot of data points. Over the last 10 years, you've seen probably things happen of what you're studying. What have you seen lately, and where do you see marketing going in the next 5 years as far as what the data is telling you?
I think marketing at the end of the day is people talking to people and telling stories, which is tough because I'm a freaking numbers guy. I don't know how to tell stories. I can get there, but generally speaking, the barriers to entry keep getting lower, especially for small businesses. We create videos on TikTok, talk about marketing and advertising. Literally me with this exact background, because it's my real background. I talk about 7 things you need to know about why your Google ads are failing or whatever the case is. And I started doing this in 2020 in different iterations. I have a little bit of time on our hands as clients stopped spending. I was like, oh man, I need to upskill. So I was like, all right, I'm going to make YouTube videos. It is prohibitively difficult to make Adobe Premiere Pro for a guy like me. Figured it out, but it's not a good use of my time to spend 3 hours to make a 2.5-minute video.
Yep.
But I went to learn. I did. I was like, all right, I'm going to hire someone. I met a person from Upwork, and he started making those videos for me. Cool. That's an example of time, value of your work. Fast forward, he's still making videos for us. We're making punchier videos for TikTok, and he makes really good looking videos. But it's unfortunate for him that I can make good enough looking videos. I'll tell you what I mean by good enough, what the difference is with the script. The fundamental difference, and he can work on bigger things and can get him to edit 10 or 15-minute videos, which I'm still having him do, but I'm not having him edit 1 or 2-minute videos. Fundamental difference is you have what's the style on video, right? You have subtext, usually changing colors in some capacity, subtitles. And you can get that on the script. You press a button here and there, and it takes away all the breaks in the language. And you press another button, it gives you studio sound. It just makes it sound better. And you make sure your name is spelled correctly and a few other things that might be wrong, although their transcription is phenomenal. And you have a video. It takes you like 20 minutes. So compare a 2.5-minute video in 20 minutes versus 2020, a 2.5-minute video in 3 hours with Adobe Premiere Pro. Clearly, I was using the wrong tool and it's way beyond my skill set, but I don't have to spend money. So the thing is, what's the difference between the video he's creating, like my video editor was creating, and what I can create on that 2.5-minute like TikTok video? And the difference is he has punchier animations. He shows other footage, other stock footage that kind of like wipes in and wipes out. And it's really interesting, visually appealing, quick cuts. It looks very fine and glossy. But it costs me money and time. Like I have to think about this 3 days from now when I want to like move on to the next thing. Whereas I can get this whole thing, I can create a video and within an hour film the video, edit it, give me 3 different versions of the video, by the way, which only comes from here because I need to have different hooks. I want to see how different like beginning parts, going back to the testing. I want to have 3 different videos, all with different starting points, talking about the same topic so I can get an understanding of which types of language capture people. Okay. So I can do that. And within an hour, I have 3 videos and I filmed the whole thing. It might actually be less than an hour. High quality. You know how difficult it is to get, you might, and people listening, how hard it is to animate subtitles in Adobe Premiere Pro. Every 3 words you've got to animate. I haven't tried it. I've been told. Sounds horrible and not the best use of my time.
Not at all.
I have the money and I want when I want to go from 85% quality to 95% quality, that's what's going to cost me money and it'll be worth it. But for right now, 85% of what I need, I get. So use these tools to make your business grow. That's it. Tinker, test, be curious. That's the reality of it. And this applies to everyone. This applies, and I'm not talking about the kid out of college or the kid in college. I'm talking about the salesperson. We're thinking about creating some sort of like course or some program. There are plenty of people who sell advertising, for example, that can basically start their own agency and white label everything to us. The most valuable thing that they have is their strategy and their thinking. You work in advertising for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. No matter what part of advertising you work, you're selling Facebook or Google or Spotify, whatever the case is, you understand. You'd be surprised how much you can help a local business out and paid for your time handsomely and replace your $1 or $2 or $300,000 a year salary and do it on your terms, on your time with the freedom that you want. People don't realize that a person working in a big company, or even a small company for that matter, insane amounts of knowledge that they don't know how to put to good use. So this doesn't just apply to the person out of college. This applies to a person at any level of their career. 20s, you have the tools and the capabilities to use your knowledge, the core thing you are known for. And with a chat agent that I spent 3 hours programming that outputs copywriting for me, it's not final. We still review it, but I don't have to pay someone $500 to do that. We do it in-house, right? You have the tools to get on video and talk about your domain of expertise, what you know the best. You can cut it into a video. It's so accessible if you're curious. And the thing that young people have over people who have been in a career for 20, 30 years is they have the urgency, they have the drive, they have a little bit of the energy. I'm getting older here, so it's an energy. My back hurts on some days more than others. But it's the energy component that you have. If you can be curious, you can have success. If you're willing to deal with the failure and you have the mindset to rise up outside of that failure. So the question is, what does marketing look like for the next 5 years? The marketing looks like people who are curious, who have the urgency, who have the stick-to-itiveness, will be doing remarkable things in the worlds of marketing and advertising because they now have the ability to start their own agency with low barriers of entry. Agencies and marketers are going to adopt dramatically. Like we're already seeing storytelling on Twitter and TikTok, actually. Like I'll give you 2 examples. There's this kind of like trend right now where people are saying, show me someone working at the office. And it's like a piece of AI art. And then me another one. He's working harder. And you get another piece of art. Another. You get like some weird cosmic thing where he's working so hard, he's become the universe. Whatever the case is. That's a funny bit of storytelling that we could all relate to. It's new and it's novel. Is that the end of AI? Absolutely not. AI is going to be a big part of storytelling that people can create without having to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on designers that you would have had to last year. Another example is there's plenty of accounts on TikTok that are telling stories. What does the alternate history of the United States look like if some historical event happened or didn't happen? And you tell a story with a little bit of copywriting and some visuals from AI. What would the Roman Empire look if the Roman Empire never fell? What does the modern Roman Empire look like? That's a great sci-fi story. It's novel, it's new, but that type of storytelling will result in something that's massive over the next few years. You can run carousel ads on Facebook. I can run a carousel ad that says, this is what you look like as a business owner struggling, and then this is 10 steps to happy and excited, all with AI. Part of it has to be with businesses, consumers being okay seeing AI art, and they are. We're all seeing it. It's part of our reality at this point. So I think there's new ways of storytelling. I think businesses are going to be far more operationally sound by using AI. You'll be able to retain more revenue and do some sort of like arbitrage around time. Instead of charging $500 for a copywriter to write something, you can use a chat agent, retain that, output 50 versions of Google headlines, keep the best 10 or 15 or 20, and be on your way, and do that again a month from now. And modify it with humans. Like, I'm not saying to just blindly use what AI outputs, but use it let it accelerate 30 to 60 minutes of your time and getting that out the door in 10 minutes. So advertising, I think, is going to dramatically change. It just opens up the door for a lot of small and nimble businesses to take the place of what has in the past been the domain of large organizations. It's the same sort of thing that happened with creation in general 10, 15 years ago, right? Now everyone can be a movie studio. You don't have to have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of physical equipment all across the country to say what you have to say. You can do it now with your phone and a TikTok account or a YouTube account. The same type of thing with operations.
Those who adapt are the ones who'll make it the furthest or make it the longest through this.
Yeah.
If you could leave a cheat sheet for a child or loved one who has a small business, what would be on that cheat sheet? What would that list be?
Thing is, leverage the time value of money. Put like $100 or $1,000 or $10,000, whatever money you can afford, put it in a bank account. So by the time the child is in retirement age, they're a millionaire. Number one, do that. That's just common sense. We should all be doing that. I think the biggest point of success, like you've got to I'll say you got to combine a few different things. Have practical knowledge of something, whatever it is you know how to do. Make sure you know how to do it. Like knowledge. I wanted to be a business owner because my friend, or an entrepreneur because my friend in college was like, I'm going to graduate and be a business owner. My parents were like, you don't know how to do anything. Leave it to your parents to keep it real after you graduate school.
Yeah.
And they're right. I didn't know how to do anything. What I also lacked was a can-do attitude and mindset. I didn't know mindset was a thing until like 2013, 14, I was like 32, 33. I was like, okay, I've got to figure this out and be able to bet on myself. So I think the best sort of situation a person can be in is they have practical knowledge of how to do something. And I heard this phrase, it's what do you know how to do that's work to other people, but play for yourself? And for me, it's advertising. I love what I do. I love the work, but it's work and other people pay me good money to figure it out for them. So what's the thing you know how to do that can be monetized that you love to do? Having practical technical knowledge is one part of it. And then having the mindset to deal with all the ups and downs is the other part of it. Those are the two halves, in my opinion. And then the last component in there somewhere is map out where you want to be. Map out maybe, like people say the best self-help books or like business coaches say, you always need a time component to make something accountable. Like I'm going to accomplish X by X date. Being a millionaire in the next 2 years for someone may not be a reasonable goal, right? So have reasonable goals. The key point here is to make them actionable. If you want to be a millionaire in 2 years, what are the things that you can realistically accomplish to get there? And you may find that it might take you 10 years because you don't actually know anything, just like I didn't know anything. So reverse engineer, where are you at the end? What does the end point look like? When are you achieving the end point? What are all the characteristics of the end point? And what are the steps you need to take to backtrack to where you are today to achieve that end point? So it's technical knowledge of how to do something that's valuable, mindset to deal with all the ups and downs of life, and being able to form a strategy so that you can go from where you are today to where you want to be at that point in the future.
Robert, I appreciate you being on today.
Thanks, Dylan. Really appreciate it as well.
So if somebody wants to connect with you, where would they go?
Yeah, our website is brillmedia.co, B as in boy, RILL media.co. There's a start now button, the upper right. Click that, either schedule a time on my calendar or submit your information, and then you'll get prompted to schedule a time on our calendar. You'll have a conversation with me, and we're going to talk about ways to grow your business that you can afford and do profitably.
Robert, again, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Dylan.
Hey, if you're still listening, hopefully you got some value out of this or amusement. Either way, I really appreciate you for listening. My goal with this podcast is to build something of value while also showing others that it's possible to do the same. And what I mean by that is I'm not perfect at this. I fumble, I stutter, and I just want to show that it's okay. If you've been putting something off, this is me telling you to go for it. So I need your help in growing this, and there's two main ways a podcast grows. One is through ratings and reviews, and two is through word of mouth. So I can only do it with your help. If you can leave me a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as post this to your social, it doesn't grow without you. Thank you. Talk to you all next week.